Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and I'm glad you are too. It is Tuesday, July 21st. Wow, I had to think about that for a minute. It's the 21st, and it's 10:03 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, the plan is to have 2 videos tonight, so just so that you'll know what to look for. And let's just jump right in there now. Well, not there. That's not where we want to go. We want to go right here. And I do have 3 people to thank. They donated via coffee. And they are Alan Jocelyn, Stacy from Cincinnati, and WTF People. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that very, very much. And I'm going to just dive right into the news right now so we can get started. And because the more I chat your hind legs off, the less news we get to. So let's just hit on this. No particular order, just some things that I found that I thought that you might like to know or need to know. Now, it says this is Gateway Pundit. These people are nuts. Broward County officials now require citizens wear masks within their own homes. Now, this was from yesterday, but I missed it yesterday. And yeah, can you imagine having to wear a mask now inside your home? What are they going to do? Knock on people's doors to make sure that they're wearing masks? Are they going to peek in your windows? How are they going to know? They're not. These people are insane. Broward County officials issued an emergency mandate that citizens now wear masks in their homes. Lovely. The new mandate includes those who live alone. Now, I live alone with 2 cats, and who am I going to give it to? The cats? I don't think so. Who's going to give it to me? The cats? I don't think so. That's absolutely ridiculous. And there is not a chance I would wear a mask in my own home. In fact, I take it off the minute I leave a store. And right now, I'm only going to stores that I need to go to because I really dislike wearing a mask, especially in the summer heat. And I'm sure you all feel the same way. I have to wear one. Now, I'm not telling you guys what to do. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask and you are in one of the age groups that's more vulnerable, then hey. But for me, myself, I just don't feel. We haven't had a case around here since May. So I think it's really ridiculous for me here to wear a mask, and I certainly wouldn't wear one in my own home. But that is what they're expecting of people in Broward County. Says news, Broward County, Florida has issued an emergency order mandating that citizens wear masks in their own homes. And Section 4, responsibility to ensure compliance with applicable orders, residential property residents, all persons who reside on any residential property, whether single family or multifamily, and irrespective of whether they own or rent the property, must ensure that all persons on the residential property, including guests, comply with all applicable guidelines of any Broward County emergency order, including the facial covering requirements. So if you own your own home in Broward County, and doesn't matter, but if it's bought and paid for, well, even if you're renting it, it's not, there's no difference. They're telling you what to do in your own residence. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, that is what they're expecting now of people. And I personally don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, if you want to make it mandatory to wear masks if you go in a store or whatever, fine. Well, I don't think it's fine, but that's one thing. Requiring it in your own home, that is quite another. That is intruding on people's rights. Anyway, let's go back. I know I'm preaching to the choir here as far as all this stuff goes. Now, let's look at this. You know, all you guys, a lot of you guys are saying, well, yeah, but the vaccine isn't going to be mandatory because Donald Trump said it wouldn't be mandatory. Well, I don't personally believe that. He may say it's not mandatory, that you can skip getting it, but look at this. Universities to force students to get flu shots sign distancing contracts in order to attend classes this fall. Now, what's going to happen when there's a vaccine? They're probably going to require that and say, well, we've got to keep our student community safe. And, how can we be safe if you're not vaccinated? So while it may be optional right now, there may be things that you just can't do unless you get it. That worries me. And don't say, oh, that'll never happen. Right. I don't know. Look at the things that are happening now that I never in my wildest dreams would have thought possible, really. Anyway, so it says National News, in order to return back to school this fall, college students enrolled at a number of American universities will have to get vaccinated with flu shots and sign social distancing contracts in accordance with the draconian new Wuhan coronavirus guidelines. Both Harvard University and the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, have already announced that getting an annual jab for seasonal influenza will be a new requirement for all students who attend classes in person, and UT Knoxville specifically has added the caveat that once a Wuhan coronavirus vaccine is released that is proven to be safe and effective, it too will be a requirement for students wanting to come back to campus. So if you're a student or if you work in the healthcare industry, I can already tell you that they will make it mandatory. Because they always do for healthcare workers. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and those of you that work in healthcare can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it's already a prerequisite is having a flu shot. Now, when I think I got a flu shot one time and I got extremely sick. So I've never had another and I've been fine. I got so sick and people say, oh no, that's not possible. I've talked to lots of people that have gotten the flu. They say, oh, it's only a mild version of it. Oh, well, this was not a mild version. Anyway, so while we have received a small amount of mixed feedback, we believe this action is in the best interest of our students and campus community, stated UT Knoxville Communications Director Melissa Tyndall. At Harvard, students will also be required to participate in routine COVID-19 testing. So it won't matter if you say, no, I don't want to be tested. Well, they could kick you out of school. As well as wear masks in all public spaces. Well, that will be really, really, I don't know, wearing a mask, I feel like, I don't know how you can ask questions and, have conversations with masks on, because I'm forever with the attendants in stores and so forth, the grocery stores saying, pardon, I can't hear people with it on. Maybe my hearing's going, I don't know, but I really have a hard time hearing people. So there you go. There will also be limited access to on-campus buildings at Harvard, which is pushing its students to settle for virtual socializing rather than in-person socializing as the first option for social contact. And that worries me. It really worries me about the development, the psychosocial development of children is being impaired and hindered, and it's being irreparably damaged in very young kids. They're not allowed to socialize with their friends. They're not allowed to hug their friends. They're not allowed to roughhouse with their friends. Just not healthy at all. So let's go on. I think that's enough of that. And because we do have a lot to get through, and let's look at this. We may have touched on this, but I'm not sure. So while Dems release thousands of prisoners from jails, one town in Colorado threatens 1 year in jail for not wearing a mask. Now, think about that. They're releasing prisoners, and this is from today. It's hot and fresh. And they're releasing all these prisoners, I think 8,000 in California, 8,000 additional prisoners, some of which are what do you call that? Sexual offenders. And they're releasing all these people. But if you don't wear a mask, you could go to jail for 1 year. Really? Maybe they're making room for all the non-mask wearers. Do you think that's what they're doing? They're cleaning out the prisons so that they can make room for law-abiding citizens that just don't want to wear a mask? I don't know, but this is absolutely outrageous. The Colorado city of Englewood, a suburb of Denver, has imposed a new mandate, which is not a law, by the way, requiring all residents and people who visit the city to wear something blocking their faces when outside the house, or else face lofty fines and a potential 1-year jail sentence. Now, how can they mandate that when it isn't even a law? There's no law. How long will that be until there is one? Even as the left screeches about defunding the police, mask pushers everywhere are demanding that anyone who dares to show mouth and or nose when in the presence of others will be approached by the cops and harassed, fined, or worse. In Englewood, the emergency order issued by City Manager J. Sean Lewis and approved by the City Council states that everyone over the age of 6 in Englewood will have to don a mask every time they leave their home, or else the police will come after them. The order states that face coverings are necessary in all retail and commercial businesses, as well as government offices, healthcare facilities, and veterinary offices. People must also wear them while riding and waiting for public transportation, such as buses, as well as inside taxis and other ride-sharing vehicles. Exemptions include people working in offices who are able to maintain at least 6 feet of distance from others, as well as those whose health is in any way inhibited or negatively affected by having a piece of cloth blocking their breathing passages. Workers with health issues that preclude them from wearing a face covering must document those concerns with their employer. The order goes on to state, and indicating employees in Englewood can also inform their employers of health concerns over mask wearing in order to gain exemptions. While it remains unclear whether or not the city's police department is actually enforcing this order, it does state that the department has the authority to impose penalties, including $15 fines for first offenses and $25 fines for second offenses. The order also indicates that a person can be charged with a maximum penalty of a fine of up to $2,650, 360 days in jail, or potentially both. Effective July 9th, any person charged with an offense under this emergency order may choose to enter a plea of not guilty and be entitled to trial as authorized by law in accordance with EMC 17-4, the order further explains. Now, they're wanting to defund the police, right? So who's going to be monitoring all this? I mean, they can't have it both ways. They want to defund the police and get the police out of our business, but they also want to, mandate whether or not we're wearing masks and fine us and possibly jail us. Doesn't that require police? Obviously not well thought out. Effective July 9th, 2020, the order indicates that it shall remain in effect until rescinded by action of the City Council or the City Manager of the City of Englewood, though the legality of this type of indefinite decree remains questionable. There's a lot of things that remain questionable about this whole thing. While many will comply with it due to fear, others are likely to challenge this edict in court on constitutional grounds, forcing people to obstruct their natural breathing as a condition of being allowed to move about in public and engage in commerce would seem to be far outside the bounds of government jurisdiction. It is also laughable that Democrats in support of such an order are simultaneously demanding the abolition of the very police systems that would be necessary to enforce it. Somehow, the police are becoming essential once again now that the left wants to make sure that everyone has a piece of cloth over their faces at all times. The city of Englewood is claiming that it has the authority to impose the order on the grounds that it is necessary for the protection of life and property. Oh yeah, how is that protecting property? How is that protecting property? It's not. Including but not limited to establishing regulations governing conduct related to the cause of the public health emergency. So there's just a bit more here. If any provision of this order conflicts with any provision of the City of Englewood municipal code or any provision of the City Council's procedures and rules of order, this emergency order shall control. It concludes. Yeah. So, I bet you if you're in Englewood, I don't know if we have any listeners from there, but if we do, could you kind of weigh in the comments and let me know what you think about this and what you're seeing there? What is the mood? How are people reacting to this? I'd love to know. All right, and let's go back now because there's plenty more. And of course, I think we've looked at this again before about the couple charged. Charges have been filed against the St. Louis couple who pointed guns towards protesters. I think that probably everybody has seen this now. Soros prosecutor strikes again. Same woman who let Black Lives Matter rioters off and failed to charge over 30 who had been arrested. St. Louis Circuit Court Attorney Kim Gardner has filed charges against the St. Louis couple who confronted protesters with guns in June, on June 5th. On Your Side has learned, Mark and Patricia McCloskey, and I think we've already read this because it seems very familiar to me, but the unlawful use of a weapon charge is a Class E felony, which can carry a sentence of up to 4 years in prison and a fine of $10,000. So, yeah. But I do believe, because I do believe that Donald Trump is getting involved in this and will probably pardon them if they are charged, because this is just beyond, it is out there that you cannot, they were a threat. They were a threat, and they were, as far as I'm concerned, what I read is that they were threatening to come in or whatever, or do whatever, and they had guns pointed at them. Well, the protesters had guns too, right? So they were protecting their home. They were on their own property, and they didn't harm anyone. So, I mean, they would have, I think, if they had pushed the issue. The Black Lives Matter protesters had pushed the issue, and they were in a gated community. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. But I know I'm preaching to the choir here. So let's go on here. Now, this is ridiculous. It's out there. Teen Vogue now telling kids that a night of restful sleep is part of systemic racism. Now, you going to sleep in your own home, in your own bed, is racist. What? Soon they're going to say breathing is racist and only black people can breathe. You know, I don't know. I mean, it's getting past the point of ridiculousness. And this is from July 20th, but still very pertinent. It is creepy for an aging male millennial to subscribe to Teen Vogue, asking for a friend. In case you've never encountered the junior edition of Vogue, they don't seem to spend as much time on fashion tips like 7 Vogue editors on their favorite white shirts, or Barbara Palvin on her everyday beauty routine, from pimple patches to ultimate eye-opening makeup tricks. Instead, here's what's on Teen Vogue's front pages as of late Saturday night. Karen is being used by white women. Here's why they need to stop. The bold type shouldn't endanger queer black people for entertainment. And Monroe Bergdorf shares 7 steps to change the beauty industry for good. Yeah, a lot different than the grown-up Vogue. Grown-up version. If this is the free stuff, just imagine what's in the actual magazine. I suppose changing the beauty industry for good is, well, good, although given how Teen Vogue defines the word, I'd be wary. As for now, the bold type is endangering queer black people. It turns out endangering them involves having a fictional progressive character date a conservative. As for the Karen article, I'll simply leave the title out there and call for summary judgment. None of this involves beauty tips, pimple patches, or white shirts, but at least they're focusing on the important stuff, like this article published July 10th. Black Power Naps is addressing systemic racism in sleep. Black Power Naps is addressing systemic racism in sleep. Yeah. You can't make this stuff up, people. Yes, your teens are being told a good night's sleep is now white privilege. For hundreds and hundreds of years, Brittany McNamara reports, black people have been deprived of sleep. As a form of protest against this, Fanny Souza, an Navild Acosta have created Black Power Naps, an artistic initiative with components including physical installations, zines, an opera, and more. But it is also a recognition of the hundreds of years of sleep deprivation that Black people and people of color have experienced as a result of systemic racism, a way to push back against the false stereotype that Black people are lazy, and an investigation of the inequitable distribution of rest. The inequitable distribution of rest. Okay, McNamara wrote that lack of sleep has serious consequences. Came from understanding that the American dream is a sleepless one, Souza told Teen Vogue. We inherited this exhaustion. Okay. Studies have shown that Black people tend to get less sleep and less deep sleep than people of other races, according to Teen Vogue. There are obvious health risks associated with that, and it's something Acosta and Souza are nominally interested in. Now, I would like to see the study that proves that Black people don't get as much sleep as white people. I would like to see that study. It says studies have shown. Well, what are these studies? Because I don't believe it. I've been looking at statistics around lower life expectancy rates and how marginalized communities are blah, 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 blah. Is there anything else worth noting here? Probably not. This is just absolutely insane. Oh, I'm sure. Okay, it says, what's the solution here then? Demands for flexible working hours, courses on work-life balance, admonitions towards white people to step up and be allies in sleep equality? I'm sure those might play into it, but Acosta and Souza have a bigger idea. Reparations in the form of sleep, or at least time off. Okay, so now they're saying that we need to give the African Americans more time off so they can sleep. Slavery is a regime of stealing and extraction, stolen wages, stolen life, stolen land, but stolen time was one of the main things. We need time, Souza said. Well, let me hit you in the head with a clock. Maybe that'll do it. We need time off. We need time out. Our ancestors never got to take a month off for holidays. When I was working, I never got a month off for holidays. And I've been working since I was very young. I moved out when I was 17 and busted my butt putting myself through school. So I've been sleep deprived most of my life. You know, who gets a month off? Some people that have been at the same job for a very, very long time, but not very many. When you pile all those together, you see the reparations that need to happen are monetary, but they're also time and space. Now, I would posit that this has nothing to do with being Black or white. It has to do with being rich or poor. Poor people worry more about their finances. They have to work harder. They have to pick up shifts. This is not about Black and white. Yes, poor people do work harder. They have to even put food on the table. So this is insanity. It's absolute insanity. And we need to start pushing back against this stuff. But how? How do we push back against this? And again, summary judgment that there's no more effective argument against Black Power NAP's agenda than letting Black Power NAPs enumerate the agenda. McNamara further notes that people of color are especially exhausted these days because of all the protesting, making Black Power NAP's missions all the more vital. Black Power NAPs. There's white people protesting too. Do they get the same consideration? Probably not. We are having to go out in the streets during a pandemic, expending our energy in really huge amounts in order to ask for reparations and rest and energy. It is a double-edged sword to navigate as an activist or an organizer. Now, you know what this article is doing, and you know what the agenda is? It's a race war. That's what they're wanting to start. And there's no more liberal a magazine than, well, there probably is somewhere, but Vogue is very, very, very liberal. So they are just adding to the narrative that there's a big disconnect between Black and white in this country. All the while, they are the ones creating it. So just more ridiculousness from the left. So let's leave that because I can feel my blood pressure rising. Things like this make me so angry because they think that they're so clever and they're absolutely transparent. We can see through it. All right, now let's look at this. This is something a little different. Instead of the bad news. Thank your lucky stars, heroic dog Lucky saves family from a house fire before their smoke detectors went off. I have heard so many stories of animals saving human beings, and they are, I don't know, I couldn't live without a pet. I really couldn't. Dogs are popular pets because they are adorable, loyal animals, not to mention friendly and incredibly smart with some incredible abilities. In fact, some dogs have been found to be able to sniff out cancer in their owners. Now, according to a recent report, dogs can even sense a house fire before a smoke detector can alert their owners. According to a report by CBS 12, a dog in Pace, Florida, alerted his owners before a fire broke out in their home on July 11th. Lucky, the Trover's beloved dog, sensed something was wrong before the family's smoke detectors went off that Saturday. Unknown to the Troyer family, a linseed oil covered rag that they used to oil some rocking chairs caught fire. Jennifer Troyer said the oily rag combusted because their garage was so hot. As their garage went up in flames, Lucky alerted the family, allowing the Troyers to escape their home safely even before their smoke detectors went off. On July 13th, CBS 12 shared an adorable photo of the furry caped hero on their Twitter account. You know, sometimes we need, oh, look at that. That's adorable. Let's go here where we can look at it bigger. For you tiny phone people. They say not all heroes wear capes, but in this case, he does now. A dog is credited with alerting a family in Pace of a fire in their home on Saturday evening. So, yeah. May have saved their lives, but he's awful cute. Look at him. Just see if this... Aww. Well, I bet you he does get some special food for that. He deserves it. All right. And let's come down here. So, and then it goes into their dog's sense of smell and study. That's interesting. Malaria. In a study, dogs were able to correctly pick out the scent of children infected with malaria parasites 70% of the time by simply smelling socks the young volunteers wore at night. Parkinson's disease. Patients with Parkinson's disease smell different at least years before they develop the disease. I've heard that. Dogs can be used to detect the early onset of the disease, ensuring that patients are treated before it's too late to prevent their symptoms. Scientists are also looking into the use of dogs to help detect coronavirus. Well, it's got to be more accurate than the test, really. So anyway, I know there's a lot of dog lovers out there, not just cat fans. So I know a lot of you have dogs as well. So there you go. Good reason to have one. If I had a place with a fenced yard, I'd have one too, along with my cats. All right. I'm not sure why I put this in here, unless it's, yeah, this is why. This is NPR. In reversal, Trump urges mask use, warns coronavirus pandemic will get worse. Now, that to me seems like a 180 completely. I don't know, what is going on with that? Did you guys hear this briefing? Because I did not, and I'd like to listen to it at some point because I want to know exactly what he said. Did he say the pandemic's going to get worse? Did he say everyone should be wearing masks? That's what this is saying. President Trump took to the White House briefing room on Tuesday to praise his administration's response to the virus that has killed more than 140,000 Americans so far. In a reversal of his recent statements and tone, he acknowledged the severity of the pandemic and urged Americans to comply with preventative measures. It will likely, unfortunately, get worse before it gets better, Trump said in uncharacteristically somber remarks, encouraging Americans to social distance, practice good hygiene, and wear masks. This is confusing to me, unless he's going along with it. You know, he is the master. He plays chess like a pro. I mean, literally and figuratively. So is this, you can't rule out that he's playing a game with the Dems, but I don't know. It's very strange to hear him say that. The president said his administration is in the process of developing a strategy for the coming months, including developing treatments and vaccines for COVID-19. Trump, who has mostly cast mask usage as a personal choice and declined to wear one himself, urged people to wear face masks, citing a spike of cases in the Sun Belt in recent weeks. Whether you like the mask or not, they have an impact, he said, despite his insistence during his prepared remarks that Americans embrace widespread mask usage. During reporter questions, the president took a softer stance on them, saying without evidence, in theory, you don't need the mask, but acknowledging that he was growing more comfortable with wearing them. He repeatedly referred to the coronavirus as the China virus. Well, it is. A term for the coronavirus decried by many as racially insensitive. Well, what isn't these days? Everything's racially insensitive. The China virus is a vicious and dangerous illness, but we've learned a lot about it and who it targets, he said. Prior to the Tuesday briefing, Trump had turned his attention elsewhere, campaigning against Black Lives Matter protests and cancel culture. But Tuesday's briefing comes amid the president's sinking poll numbers as the virus continues to ravage much of the country. Trump's return to the podium was initially understood to be a restart of the coronavirus task force briefing that had become a staple during the early weeks of the pandemic. However, the event, which lasted about a half hour, did not include any expert voices from members of the pandemic response team, despite some concerns about Trump's ability to accurately relay health guidance to the American people. In the past iteration of the briefing, Trump had often overshadowed his administration's health updates and at times provided false, dangerous information. Well, we know this is NPR, so we know it's going to be biased, and it sounds very biased to me. I'm going to have to bring that up and listen to it in its entirety, because I'm not sure how he worded all this, and I'm really not sure that I trust NPR. Well, I don't trust NPR. I'm sure they're reporting, but they're reporting in such a biased way that I'm not sure. When asked Tuesday morning whether these sort of missteps suggested that perhaps Trump was not the best person to helm the daily briefings, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany defended her boss as a trailblazer through the global health crisis. The president is the right person to give information to the American people. He was elevated by the American people. He's been a leader on this, McEnany said, and boy, does he get information to a lot of the American people, as noted by the ratings, she added. And he does. I mean, he is the first president to make, really good use of Twitter, all social media, really. So, yeah. But if any of you actually heard that press briefing, please weigh in the comments, because I want to know what he really said. Because it sounds to me like he may be trying to appease, because a lot of people are not awake and they think that wearing masks is going to protect them. And so is he trying to appease them because they're not awake and it might affect them voting? I don't know. But you guys weigh in the comments, because I do, as much as I can, I do look at the comments. All right. Well, let's go back now. And let's get to the next thing. Oh, yes, this is something bizarre. It is very bizarre. Obey message appears in Kentucky sky following mask mandate. Eerie skywriting tells Kentuckians to do what they're told. And skywriting, put obey. Residents of Kentucky were alarmed to look up in the sky and see a message instructing them to obey, appearing in the skies of Frankfurt near Lexington last week. Oh, I've got a Frankfurt real close to me. Appearing in the skies of Frankfurt near Lexington last week, people snapped photos of the message telling them essentially to shut up and do what they're told. Well, isn't that what obey means? Shut up and do what you're told. The message, reportedly written multiple times, appeared mere days after Democrat Governor Andy Beshear implemented a statewide face mask mandate, prompting many to speculate it was backlash against the order. Well, what else would it have been? The eerie skywriting brings to mind the message repeated in the 80s dystopian film They Live. That is a really good film. If you've never seen it, it should be out there somewhere free because it's old, but in which a man discovers hidden messages through print, video, and news media subliminally, instructing the unsuspected population to obey and consume. Adding to the mystique, the person who commissioned the message remains a mystery. Local media, LEX18, tracked down the plane's owner, who said he would not disclose the client or the project's cost. He also said he knew nothing about the motivation behind the message. Well, you know, it could be someone that disagrees with it and put that because a lot of people, know that that is like a dystopian, 1984 and this film, obey, consume, just do what you're told. And that could have been backlash towards the order, or it could have been telling people you better obey. I don't know. If you were in Kentucky and you saw this, please put it in the comments below because I'd like to hear from you. Did you see it? What do you think that it was? What do you think that they were trying to get across? All right, and let's come down, and I'm going to end this first video in a minute so that I can get this uploaded so that you will at least know there's a video coming. But let me just click on a couple other things here. Well, actually, let me go till 10:45 and then I'll upload this and I'll go on with another video. All right, George Stephanopoulos and his wife watched porn with their children during the lockdown. Wait, what? You know which side ABC anchor George Stephanopoulos comes down on, whether our kids should go to school this fall during the Chinese virus outbreak. He wouldn't want us to endanger our kids' lives, of course, but his wife's latest admission should have you wondering whether the Stephanopoulos family knows what's in your kids' best interest or even their own. In a recent podcast interview with Will and Grace, Deborah Messing, comedian Ali Wentworth, who has been married to George Stephanopoulos since 2001, opened up about her insane parenting methods involving educating her kids about pornography. I don't think that's something you actually have to educate them on. I think that they probably hear enough about that as it is. You know what? Okay, hang on here. There's the normal strategy of staying vigilant as a parent and educating them about the dangers of this corruptive and addictive medium, which profits off of violent exploitation of women and has been linked to sex trafficking. Then there's what Mrs. George Stephanopoulos told her Hollywood friend, watching porn with her children. What? Gross. Fun for the whole family. I don't think so. Wentworth, who has 2 daughters with Good Morning America anchor, claimed you can't stop them, so I would watch it with them. I would look at the porn with them that one time, like they're performing. Oh, that's wonderful. Though Wentworth, a comedian, explained that this was a way in which she could provide context about the practice to her kids. You see, watching it with her kids would allow her to explain how it's exploitive of the actors in pornographic productions. Yes, and I'm sure that's what they're paying attention to. Right. She added, in porn, women have been conditioned to look and act a certain way. They are performing, and it's dangerous to have boys see this as something women want. Oh, wonderful. How about telling your daughters to turn it off? It's dangerous. Also, how about it would not be awkward for the Stephanopoulos parents to sit in with their teenage daughters as the actors simulate sex? Enough about that. Her excuse that the kids are going to do it anyway reads like that's surrendering to the world's corruptive influence over her daughters, so she'll just let them have it and frame it for them in a healthy way. There is no way to frame that in a healthy way. Porn is bad for men and women in different ways. Through many studies focus on porn's destructive effect on males, anti-porn research group Fight the New Drug notes that women can be just as at risk of becoming dependent upon pornography as men. The group cited a German sex study published in the Telegraph, which claimed at least 17% of women consider themselves addicted to porn, and half of the women surveyed were internet porn consumers. So, yeah, great for Wentworth. Expose your daughters to a potential porn addiction as long as you talk to them about their feelings afterwards. Besides peddling harmful hippie BS parenting techniques, they're also contributing viewership to an industry that utterly destroys the dignity of the performers, turning them into a sexual commodity. It's an industry so exploitive of the young girls that the internet's largest free porn provider, Pornhub, has been accused of featuring videos of rape and sex trafficking victims. Well, as long as George and Ali explain why human trafficking is bad as they sit down to watch it as a family. Can you believe that? Well, believe it. All right. Now, let me get to one more. This is, again, something a little bit, well, a lot disconcerting. This by Breitbart. Body found in Minneapolis pawn shop burned during protests. So they burned this they burned this pawn shop down during the peaceful protests, and they have found a body that obviously burned to death in there. Wonder how many more they'll find as they go through these buildings. The charred corpse of an as yet unidentified man was found Monday in the ashes of a pawn shop burned during the recent Minneapolis rioting. Oh, not rioting. They must have meant peaceful protesting. Investigators acting on a tip searched the ruin of Maxit Pawn on East Lake Street in southern Minneapolis, just blocks away from the now closed 3rd Precinct Police Station. Police Department spokesman John Elder told the Star Tribune the body appears to have suffered thermal injury, meaning it was burned to crap. And we do have somebody charged with setting fire to that place. The identity of the body has not yet been released as authorities await the result of an autopsy to confirm the cause and manner of death. While the time and details of his death remain unclear, they believe him to have perished in the May 28th fire that destroyed the shop. Montez Terrell Lee, 25, of Rochester, Minnesota, has been federally charged with arson in connection with the fire. Well, good. Now he needs to be charged with murder. The Star Tribune reports, according to the criminal complaint against Lee, ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, investigators received a video from an anonymous source of an arson that occurred at the pawn shop. In the first clip, a masked man, later identified as Lee, is seen pouring liquid from a metal container throughout the pawn shop. Second video shows Lee standing in front of the burning pawn shop saying, expletive, this place. Probably F this place. We're going to burn this effort down. The ATF is continuing to work these arson investigations across the Twin Cities and following up on these leads as they become available. ATF spokesperson Ashley Sherrill said if the death is ruled a homicide, it will cap 100% increase in Minneapolis homicides this year over the last at this time. So it's up 100%. Over this year, this time last year. And it wouldn't surprise me if they find more, because some of those buildings, I remember the one where, and I can't remember, it was a retail store of some sort, and it was burning, and there was people coming out, and it was engulfed in flames, and they were saying there's still people inside. I wonder if they've found those people, or if those people got out. I don't know. I hope so. All right. Well, it is 10:46, and I do want to get this uploaded tonight. So I'm going to stop there for now, and I am coming back with another video. So that's it for this one, though. I hope that it gets uploaded and, processed quickly, but who knows? Sometimes it takes, 6 or 7 hours. Sometimes it takes an hour. You just never know. Sometimes it's like 20 minutes. So I don't know. Anyway, that's it. And you guys stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth, because deception bites. And if anyone has any tips on getting off what do they call that? Your COVID weight. Everybody's staying at home, and so they're eating more. And I got on the scales, and I had a little surprise. Well, it wasn't too much of a surprise. No, it wasn't. But anyway, so yeah, looks like I'm going to be having to watch my food intake now. So all right, guys, let's stop it there, and I'll be back. Good night, guys.